Hi everyone, it's Karen and I'm back with my second design team project for the month of April for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy. And I will leave links in the description box below to her Etsy shop where you will find just a beautiful collection of laces and trims, bling, sari silk, ribbons, charms, and you just have to go and look because she's always putting new things in the shop and she just has a beautiful, beautiful store. And then she has some really talented designers creating inspirational projects for you using products from the store, and I will leave links to their YouTube channels in the description box below so you can go and check them out as well. What did I create for my second project? I had these beautiful images that I purchased from an Etsy seller, and they're all in gray tones, the grayscale tones, and some in the sepia. Tend to gravitate towards color and then, you know, your pinks and whites. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna do a book with my favorite what I'm really gravitated to, and that is the pinks and the creams and the whites. And then I'm going to use these images of these fairies that I have, and I printed them all on the beautiful silky soft fabric, and I've accented them with their wings with stickles, and I have added little embellishments onto them and created this beautiful, beautiful doily lace book. She will be for sale, and I sell using PayPal, and I will leave information about how you can purchase her in the description box below. And this time I just had to make one of my little flower fairies to go with her, so this will be the gift with purchase. And this time I used a beautiful prima flower in the center, some beautiful satin roses around the edge, some pretty tulle trim for her big wings. I added some gold thread and little beads at the bottom for her feet, and put on these cute little ceramic little flowers and little gold bows on her shoes. And then she has a wooden bead for a head and some pretty pink florals and a little teeny weeny little butterfly sitting on that one flower. And she's all finished nicely on the back with some appliques that I cut out of lace, and then a nice hanger to hang her with. She just goes along with this whole fairy little book. So I'm going to set her there, and let's take a look inside. So I've tied the pages together with a piece of the chiffon, light pink chiffon frayed ribbon from Kim's shop, and a piece of flat lace. She has similar laces in the shop. I didn't happen to have one, but I had one in my stash. So although this isn't from Kim's shop, she has something very similar in the shop. You can go and check it out, and it does work really well. You can see how pretty it looks all tied together. I used doilies, flat square doilies or rectangular doilies for the pages, and for the most part they have disappeared under, and that's it for this type of book. That's I don't mind that. And when I'm layering, I like you to be able to see everything, but seeing the page underneath is often lost in the process. But it's you can see the edge of it here, the doily, rectangular doily, and then around the edge of the entire book, so front and back cover, it's about 3 inches of the edge of a doily that I had. I stitched it on using little 11/0 AB seed beads in the centers of the bridal trim flowers that are, this is the bridal trim from Kim's shop. And what I did was I cut out each of these flowers out of the trim, and then I hand stitched through them, through the beautiful crochet edge of that doily, and then through into the under part of the page, the crocheted doily underneath. And I did that all the way around. And then after I started embellishing, so some of them got hidden a little bit behind some of the embellishment, but if we go all the way around, you will see the different spots where I have put, it was about every inch, inch and a half, maybe inch and a quarter, that I would add a flower and then stitch it with the bead in the center. And so that goes all the way around the outer edge as well. And up at the top here, I put a bigger piece of that same bridal trim. That trim she has in the shop in pink and white. It's so, so pretty. It has all these beautiful sequins and pearls on it. And then if I'm going to hand stitch with it, I usually add the seed beads, the tiny little 11-0 seed beads in the center of these sequins. And it really just adds another level. Then I tea stained some of her laces and trims because I wanted that coloring as well. Some of the laces white. This particular piece here is one of the doilies from her shop, and it's already that tea stained color. And then these other pieces here are all pieces that I tea stained myself. And it just depends on the content of the laces as to how they take the tea stain or any stain at all or any dye. So this particular trim here, the dangly type one here, this is one of my favorites. And I left some in white and did some in the tea color. So you've got a mix of both in this little tassel. And it's a little bit darker than this one here, and this one that took the tea stain just lighter. It was the same cup of stain. I just make up a solution with tea bags and hot water, and then I just take it and either spray it or I dip the pieces into it and then just dry them. I've done a whole collaging on the front of this and on every page really. I've taken pieces of her trims in white. And these are from my design team package that I had, that I originally showed at the beginning of March. And then I've used some pink, very light pink embroidery floss to stitch some of the pieces on with. Here I've added some light pink beads and also some stitches. Here there's a tea stained little flower in the center of this bigger white one. The side I've done a collection of the flowers. I've added in some sort of tea colored pearls that I had, pearly beads that I had in my stash. I've added some flat back pearls here as well. I've added one of my little beaded butterflies in some rosy pink colors. And I've added one of the bows from that sweet little bow trim that I have from the shop. I've added that to the front of her dress here. And in her hair here, I've added a little tiny piece of one of her dangle trims and then a bead and a sequin in her hair there. And of course you can see the stickles on her wings. And I've added a little charm here with a fairy on it. That is from Kim's shop as well. She has them in the shop. They sell out really quickly, but she does restock them usually, these little charms with the fairies on them. And then these are a couple little flower charms that I put together myself. In the side here of the tie, I've pinned in a beautiful faceted acrylic heart. That's from my stash. And then I made a little fairy to go on this side, put her on a pin, and I've done her with a couple of different sizes of pearly like beads with a little bit of a rondelle, a little bit of that pink bridal trim from Kim's shop on the top of her head like a little flower cap. And then this is a pink trim that Kim has in the shop as well. And I used that, snipped a little bit, gathered it at the back and added that on for her wings. And they're just attached on with bulb pins. Kim does have bulb pins in the shop as well. And again, that beautiful doily just goes all the way around. Let's open her up and I'll show you the next two pages. So when you open her, you will see that gorgeous doily as it goes all the way around the edges of this entire book. This little book, it's not a big book, but it has a really lovely feel in your hand. And I like that. When you're going through and exploring it, the pages are about 4 inches wide and about 5 inches tall, and then there's a good only 2 to 3 inches of dangles and things down the bottom as well to add to that as well. And the images I think are probably 2 by 3. I think they're kind of that standard size, 2.5 by 3. First page here is one of the images, more in the gray scale, and I've just stickled her wings on this one. I've put some of the curly cues from the bridal trim in her hair here, and one of my little tatted pink butterflies. This is a beautiful rose trim from Kim's shop. This wasn't in my design team package, but it was one that I've had in my stash, and I believe she still has it in the shop. It's a beautiful trim, has lovely leaves on it with lovely detail, a satiny stitching to these beautiful roses. And then I've added a piece of her bling. This is a bow with dangles on it. I've added some little pieces in the center of the roses that are just from my stash, and some flat back pearls. Around the edge of this image, I have put the edge of the bridal trim and in white, and it has sequins, and I've added the little 11 seed beads all the way around the edge of that before when I stitched it on, and then I glued it down to the page. This is all lovely lace from Kim's shop in the rose color, and this came this color, which is sort of that tea colored, and I love that. It's a beautiful trim too, with these lovely rose buds hanging down. And then underneath here is another trim from Kim's shop that I still had a piece in my stash, and I love the dangle on it. It's so pretty. And I think she's had it in a couple of times and it sells out really quickly, so you have to watch for it. It'll probably come back in again. And I've put that there at the bottom of the page, and I just let that string of roses just come drop right off the edge of the page there as well. Added in one of her pretty little blings with the rondelle at the top, and onto a ball pin with some little pearly beads. This page I call the flower page. My idea behind this is fairies in the garden. So they're all sort of images of them, and then there's flowers and butterflies along with that theme. And of course, the pinks, the whites, and the tea colors are the colors in this collection on these pages. So here's a beautiful lace at the bottom here from Kim's shop. This is one of her netted laces. This one has the lovely scrolling effect on the bottom. So pretty. And then of course this is a bit of that trim, one of my favorite ones, and used as a tassel trim on here. Little bit of bead from my stash, just added in there. I like the color of it. I thought it looked really pretty, and I just strung it all on a pin and added it there. These are satin roses, rolled roses that I've created and added here with a little piece of pink bling in the center. This is just a collection of all types of flowers. Some of them are from my stash, these two, and this is a piece of the bridal trim. This is another piece of Kim's trim that has these beautiful beads on it in the center. And then there's other pieces of it that I've used elsewhere. I'll show you. There's another part of the beaded one here, and they just look like I've used them kind of as flower centers amongst all this collection of flowers. These flowers are from the trim that I had in my design team package that had the pink and green on it. I also had these flowers on it. I used some, cut them out separately, added a little flat back pearl. Here's one of her little doodah flowers. They're so pretty. She has them in the shop in pink and white with the bling in the center. This is one of those cute little butterflies that I create with this same dangle trim that is my favorite. It comes with a bunch of different dangles on it, like these pieces here, and one of them I just take two of the little pieces and create this little butterfly. Her little antennae are a little pink embroidered floss, and she has a little bling in the center. This is the three-dimensional butterfly trim that was in my design team package, and I embroidered them onto the edge of this page with some French knots and just some straight stitches. And there's a little bit of that pink trim from her shop as well that I have fussy cut out the flowers from and added that into the background here. And this is just a piece of sort of beigey colored lace that was in my stash. Two pages, again, one is one of the fairies, an image, and the other is a pocket. So let's do the fairy image first. Again, in a grayscale, used a little bit of trim with pearls on it and attached that in her hair. a little bit of trim across the top of her dress, and another one of those cute little bows from Kim's shop that I've put a little bit of pink stickles on and a pearl in the center and attached that sort of at the front of her dress there. Another one of the little butterflies created with that trim, and this I took and tea stained though that one. Well, I tea stained the lace before I even started it. And again, these have been tea stained. This is another one of Kim's trims that I don't think she has it in the shop right now, but she has had it off and on, and I've cut the little flowers off of it, tea stained them, and then added them in little clusters here. There's a piece of the pink bridal trim, and this is a bling from her shop. I think it's an older one that she's had in the past, but she always has beautiful bling, and they all work the same when you're using them. They're around this size, and they look so pretty added into the center. This is part of one of her laces. This was one that was in my design team package, and I've used it all the way down the side. It has these beautiful loops on it and then the edging on it is so pretty. Then a little bit of ribbon from my stash, and to add a little bit of pink to this page, another piece of the pink bridal trim, another little bit. This is the center of that doily that she has, those doilies she has in the shop that's already this color. This is a charm that she has in the shop. I didn't check. She may still have these fairy charms in her shop. They're very, very pretty. I sewed it on with a little bit of pink embroidery floss, and I added a little piece of bling right in the top where the hole is, where you would attach it onto something. You can with a jump ring, or I just attached it with some thread, and then that left me room to be able to put that little piece of bling in there. This is her pineapple dangle trim, which I had a tiny piece left of, which is so perfect for these smaller books like this, and she has this still in the shop. It's called pineapple dangle trim, I guess because these kind of look like pineapples, but it's a really pretty dangle trim. And just behind that you can just see the netted lace that's on the previous page. And this is also a trim from Kim's shop. This has roses and leaves on it, and it has an edging on either side. I just fussy cut out the leaves and the roses and added that down the side of the page here. I really like cutting out pieces from the laces and then creating from there. I don't often, like here is an entire piece of that pineapple trim. I don't think anything's been cut off of it. It still has the loops at the top and everything. And that's rare for me. I very rarely do that, but that just fit there so perfectly. I tend to cut things up. So this is a little pocket page that I created, and this is just some fabric from my stash. And before I put the pocket on, I stitched on these there's an embroidered daisy flower here with daisy stitch and French knots. There's some tatted flowers that I added on here, and then I gathered their stems together into the bottom and then put a little tatted butterfly there with a little bit of pink bling in the center. I do believe this pink bling is from Kim's shop. She has chain, and that's what this is a chain, cup chain bling. I think it's like one or 2 millimeters. Very small, but very pretty to just cut little pieces. I just used 2 little pieces and then just glued them there in the center of those 3 butterflies. Just adds a little sparkle. And then this is this beautiful white piece at the bottom here, and it also scrolls up here is another part of one of her trims, which is the same as this one down here, and that was in my design team package. It's such a pretty trim. It's got this beautiful floral at the bottom here, and it's drippy piece here, and these lovely flowers. And I added the little flat back pearls in. This is that trim I just love. It's one of my favorites, and this one I tea stained and just added the pieces in here. This is from the one floral trim that I had in my design team pack. Almost looked like when a dandelion has all the little flowers on it before it goes to seed. And I just cut them out individually, and I just placed them, scattered them across on a diagonal across the top of the pocket. And then in behind this array of stick pins that's in here, which I will show you, is that beautiful rose tea-colored lace from her shop. And then this is one of the netted laces from her shop covering the back of that, which is the doily. And then in this pocket, I decided I was in the mode, which you saw, if you saw my previous video, you saw my stick pins that I made. And I created even more of them. because again, once you get started, it's difficult to stop. Now this one, I have put a stopper on the bottom of it here, a little back of an earring, the little rubber stoppers, just because you can see her here, and I wanted to keep her fastened in. So she has one of the little beaded balls for her body, the pretty wings from Kim's stick pin kit, and then a couple of beads from my stash. On her head is again one of the flowers from the bridal trim, and that creates a little flower cap, and then this is the top of my stick pin. This one, I think I can take this one out, although I don't need to. This one has the pin at the bottom as well, so that it's secured in there, but you see the entire pin here. It's a couple of crystally beads from my stash, a couple of gold spacers, a couple of little pearly beads, and then at the top, what I have done is I have taken the top off the pin, which I said in my other video, they're usually plastic, and I just squeeze it really tightly in a pliers and it breaks. Make sure you have your eyes covered and are careful when you do that, because the pieces do go flying. And then I just put a little piece of bling on the back of there with some permanent adhesive to hold the back of the stick pin onto one of her crowns. And I do believe she still sells these regularly in her shop. They're so pretty. And then this one is one of her stick pins, has the beautiful white top. I added one of her pretty acrylic little bows on there that's in the bead kit. I added one of her soft pink velvety chenille flowers that she has in the shop, one of the pretty little perfume bottle charms hanging off the edge of that, and then a couple of pink beads that came in her stick pin kit, and a rondelle. And that creates the third stick pin that's in here. And I just thought they were a pretty addition. One's a little fairy, one has a fairy crown on it, and one has a flower from the fairy garden on it. So they all fit really nicely, and they look really pretty in that pocket. There's a piece of dangle that I've created just down here. This was a dangle in Kim's shop. I had this little piece left, and I just thought it looked so pretty dangling there. Another one of her little, I call them doodad flowers. They're little acrylic flowers. She usually gets them in pink and white. They have the little pretty little bling in the center. They're so perfect in so many different ways. Next two pages are both image pages, and it is the center of the lace doily book. And so I used a whole piece of that beautiful pink bridal trim right across the entire bottom of the two pages and just left it as a continuous piece. I just trimmed it down here where the center is, so there wouldn't be any bulk there, just a little on the edge. Then I added some tea-stained pieces. This is, again, a previous piece from her shop that I've had in my stash. I keep all these little pieces because when you're creating one of these lace and doily books, you require a lot of lace and doilies and things to go in it. And so I keep the smaller pieces because now they come in so handy. And this is the center of one of the doilies from Kim's shop. And then I tea stained, of course, this is more of that trim. And I just tea stained a bunch of it. I picked out what I knew I was going to need. And then afterwards, I just went back and tea stained more if I needed it. And so I ended up using it throughout the book in both its white form that it came in and also in tea stained. Here's one of those little butterflies, again created with that trim. This one's in white, which is how the trim originally comes. Another couple of flowers from one of her trims. That was in my design team package. And little bits from the laces and little flowers cut out. A little bit of that trim. Again, the same that made the butterfly, the same that's dangling down the bottom here. I just used a couple of pieces going across like this, and just smaller pieces of it. And I created a little butterfly up here with a pink lace that I had from her shop that I still had in my stash. And I don't know, anything that I can create little butterflies from, I just love doing it. It's fun. And again, some tea stained of the loopy part of the bridal trim and a bit of the leaves. There's a little tiny stick pin put in here that's just pearly beads and some rondelles. I just tucked that in there. She has a pretty little pink butterfly in her hair. That's one of my tatted ones. There are pieces of the netted lace, all fussy cut out and sort of cascading here at the top all the way down here and all the way down this side. And then I've added a little teeny weeny, these are little 3mm flat back pearls that I've put in here and a little bit bigger ones there. And a cluster of them in the center of this flower here, which that's from one of the laces, and there's a part of one on the side here. So I just laid the lace down and then I trimmed it off on the edge of the page. Sometimes I leave it sticking out, like here I left this piece sticking out. Sometimes I trim it off. Depends how it looks to my eye when I'm creating. And again, another one of her little white little baubles pieces on a bulb pin with some pearly beads. She has a little piece of trim in her hair, another one of those little bows with a pearl in the center. I've created a little necklace for her here with some flat back bling and some flat back pearls. And in the center of her dress here, I've done a little tatted flower, some little loopies from the bridal trim. And then this is a little piece from another one of Kim's trims. It had these little tiny pieces that came down, and I think I had a couple left, but one for sure I used here. I may not have used the other one. Haven't seen it just yet. But just to put a little bit of something, and this one she has a little bling necklace on and a piece of a lace just underneath there to look like the top of her dress. And then it goes into the pink, which is on the bottom. And again, I don't think her wings don't show, and hers have the stickles on them. Love how the pink and the tea stained and the white have all come together. I just think it turned out really, really pretty. So on this page is another image. Again, she is got little pieces of lace, the loops of one of the bridal trims to create the bottom of this little dress on her, some pink from another trim from Kim's shop to create the next layer, a little layer of 4 little flat back pearls from my stash, and then another little piece of trim from Kim's shop to create this. Goes into the top of her dress. It's a little flower. There's some pink French knots in the center, a little necklace on her with pearls and some bling, a little flower in her hair made from 5 little seed beads and in pink, and then a little seed bead in white, and I just string those together and string the pearl through the middle, and that created that for her hair. There's a little bit of loopiness here at the top coming down, and that's from that bridal trim. I love all bits of that bridal trim. You can just cut it all apart, and it's so nice. This is a piece from Kim's shop. Another really pretty piece. Here's one of the dragonflies I've been hoarding that I got, I think, 2 years ago from Kim's shop, and I'm slowly getting through them. I want to get through them slowly. That's intentional, but I just felt this dragonfly really fitted well on this page, and so I put her here with some pink, light pink seed beads in the center of her. Again, some of the tea-stained bridal trim, the white one tea-stained here, and then a little bit of bling in the center. This is the, on the other page, I showed the beaded part of the center of this trim, and this is the outer part of it. And what I've done here is use the outer part to create the outer part of the flower, a doily in the center, one of Kim's pretty white and gold flecked flat back pieces of acrylic in the very center, and then I've taken seed beads and just done some beading on there to add to the other beads that were already in the trim. And so that's a flower I've created there. And then this is another trim from her shop, pretty little trim just dangling here, and then some dangling bits coming down from it. Some of her leaf trim, some of that trim that's my favorite that has all these pieces on it. And again, I've left the leaf trim white, and I've tea stained the other trim. And then at the very bottom of this page is one of the trims from her shop, and it has this beautiful bottom on it and this beautiful patterning, and I've just added that to the bottom of the page there. This was a trim that I had from several months ago, but I had 3 petals left because I had cut it apart. So I used these 3 petals here. I added another piece from another one of her laces here. There's another one here, and I added that here and created like a flower effect. As I've said before, when I create, I don't always worry about having a whole flower, because in a garden, when you're looking at a garden, you will see part of a flower because the rest is hidden behind another flower or another plant or the leaves. So I don't always worry about, oh, is it a whole flower? No, it's okay. It's okay if it's part of a flower. And then I've added some tea-stained little bits in behind it for leaves, and one of her, again, just a little bit of glue there that I missed when I did my cleanup. Another one of her little hearts. This is one of the hollow ones that she had. I don't think there's any of those left in the shop, but she's always getting bling in, and it's always selling out. So you just have to keep on. And if you join the Facebook group and join our Instagram, which I'll leave links in the description box below, we give you heads up when new things go in the shop so you can get a chance to get some of these things that sell out so fast. This is another part of the trim. I have used it in the book already as a dangle and as a little piece in the hair of one of the fairies. And this time I used a little piece here and up here on the edge of this image. And I rarely edge my images out just completely. I put the image down and then I build my page around it. So I do something different on this side to this side, top to bottom. It just depends on how it unfolds. This is my bling page. Kim had sent this gorgeous piece on one of my design team packages. I can't even remember which one, if it was the latest one or one before. And I really wanted to use it in here. I just thought it was such a statement piece. It needed a page of its own, and I thought it was really pretty in here. So I have pinned it on this page. I have added the beautiful flowers and trims from Kim's shop. This again is the same as this one over here. I often, when I have pages one side to the other, will mirror things from one side to the other so that when you're looking at them, there's some cohesiveness between them. And then of course from page to page, I like there to be something common going through. So again, one of those little butterflies I created from some of her pink trim, some of the bridal trim. There's some more tea-stained flowers underneath, and you'll recognize the little loops from the bridal trim, leaves from another trim. There's another one that mirrors this one that I had left. A little bit of pink bridal trim there. This side has one of her braid trims underneath on the bottom, and then a collection of tea-stained flowers and little scrolly bits on top. A little bit of a pink flower sticking out here. A bow in the light pink from my stash. This is a butterfly I've created from the one trim, and I did show that when I showed my fairies last month. Yeah, when I showed the dresses and the little fairies that I created. That's made from one of the trims, and then I've just added some pink seed beads and some little pearly stamens for the antennae. This is a beautiful trim from Kim's shop. Again, a small piece that I have left, but perfect for here. And I've added some little flat back pearls onto that. And then the very last two pages. This is definitely my Fairy in the Garden page. This is an entire collection of many, many layers of handmade flowers and pieces of bling. And then I made this little fairy in the center here. She is a stick pin, but she is secured in there. And I've made her with a little bit of the beading that was on the applique that I got, that huge applique that I cut all up, and I used a lot on the little dresses. And I had a piece left, and I used that for the bottom of her dress. This is a bow from Kim's shop, and I showed in one of my other videos that I just cut off the edges of it, made it smaller, so that became her wings. One of those little blows from the bow trim there. And a little pearly bead, again, using the bridal trim as a little flower cap. This is a handmade flower. This one, these two, and this one are all made from the same trim that Kim had in the shop. It is a braided trim, and I just went around and squeezed it and glued it in the number of petals I wanted. So this one has 6 petals. And then after I had glued it and glued it down to the page, I used one of her old roses in the center. Afterwards, I went with a paintbrush, and I opened up these ends of each of the flowers, so it stays glued at the bottom and it's open at the top. and it created a really pretty little flower all the way around. And I did that with this one too. And this one has just a rolled piece of the trim in the center, whereas that one had the little white rolled rose with a pearl. And then these two were made by just simply rolling the trim. You just start at one end and you roll. And there's different parts to that trim because this one looks a little bit different from this one. And I just took, I think there was like rows of it, and I just cut it apart and I rolled this one up, added a pearl to the center, rolled this one up, added a bling in the center. This is a little piece of a doily that I rolled and made into a little flower there. This is a piece of that pretty tulle and heart material that she sent, and I had a little piece left. I made it into a rolled rose with a pearl in the center. And then the rest of these are pieces from different trims. So you can see there's the one down the side is the white one that was on the previous page. This is that beautiful sort of vintage looking one that had the scroll at the bottom, the green leaves and the rosy colored flowers on it, and that's in the background off the edge of this page, and then the flowers come down and joined over top of it. So I've got tatted butterflies on here. I've got the little butterflies made from the trim. I've got some flowers from that run along the top of this trim that's hanging out the bottom here that sort of had a floral piece at the top. I don't have any of it left. I used it all up. So some of them I tea dyed and some of them I left white, so I added those here. Some of the rosy trim is in there. There's some of the dangle roses that were left. Bridal trim loops. I've sort of looped them up going this way to make it look more like a floral that's growing up. And lots of the little white flowers just placed in here with little pearls on them. Another one of those little butterflies on top. This is a little bit of lace that I had, a little trim that I had left from one of the many different laces that I cut up, and I just gathered it up and tucked it in there. Some of the pink bridal trim. Again, some of that lace that I like. It's a dangle lace, but I used it here and used it in an upright. It just depends on what direction you put something as to how it will look so different. And then here's another one of those, some of that beaded trim from her shop. It's a circle of beads, and then I added one of these flowers to the center. So that created this beautiful fairy in the garden there. And then the last page is, other than the back page, is another image, and she has her wings stickled. She has beautiful netted lace in her hair and one of the little tiny enamel bows from Kim's shop. It is a charm, and I've just put a little piece of the netted lace, cut out one of the floral pieces across the top here, and it sort of comes down and covers that. There's 3 little hearts that are cut from that fabric, the same that made this flower over here, and I just cut them out and added them there. Another couple of tatted butterflies, another one of those little butterflies made from the trim, and then this is a floral and also the dangles from her shop and their combination of the white and the tea colored. Another one of those little butterflies hanging on there. And I had this really pretty wax seal that I had created, and it was in the pink color with a dragonfly on it, and I just loved it. I thought it looked so pretty there, so I added that in there. And then this is another trim from Kim's shop that she gets in often in different, this was in a creamy color, sometimes it comes in a white. This piece here actually extended even longer, but I didn't want it hanging that far out of the bottom of the book, so I just trimmed it off flat. These florals are on the top of these long ones, and I just added some flat back pearls in there. And then I gave her a little necklace with pearls and a little bling. And you can see how the back page, how pretty that doily looks. It's a beautiful, huge doily that I had that I thought was just so perfect around the edge of this book. And then on closing, you can see, of course, the back of the beautiful lace and pink chiffon tie at the side. And then there is an image at the back as well. And she has stickles on her wings. She has like a pearl necklace collar piece that I made that goes down the front of her. some little bits of lace from the netted lace. I love cutting out the little bits from the netted lace and using it in different ways. It looks so pretty. More of the little rose dangles left from that rose trim. You can see how this was sewn on the back with the little flowers from the bridal lace. And then she just has a piece of that little scrolly bit from the bridal trim and 3 tiny little sequins and 3 little beads that I made and created a little thing in her hair. And again, one of those little butterflies. I don't know how many of those are in the book, but there's a lot of them. And another one of my tattered butterflies, which there's a fair number in there too. This is my design team project for AngeldreamCraftsKim. I hope you'll go over to the shop and have a look at all these beautiful laces and think about, you know, coloring and doing some tea staining of them yourself, making yourself a little book like this, or a little wall hanging. Oh, my little angel fell off. Just gonna pop her back on there. Not really sure why she fell off, so I will look at that. So I hope that you have enjoyed looking at this pretty little fairy book, and she is for sale, and information is in the description box below, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.